The Last Hope. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Alliance fell silent as the lights dimmed. 300 representatives from across the known universe sat rigid in their seats, their diverse physiologies. Tentacles, multiple limbs, crystalline bodies, and gaseous forms contained in specialized suits, all unified in one emotion: fear. High Chancellor Zirhel's translucent skin pulsed with anxiety as she activated the central hologram. The image materialized slowly, a once vibrant world reduced to a smoldering cinder. Proxima Centauri IV, she announced, her voice amplified across the chamber. Population: 8.7 billion. Now 0. The Vizari fleet left no survivors. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. This marked the 17th world destroyed in the past galactic standard year. Our combined defensive fleets have proven ineffective, continued Zuerthal, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of extreme distress among the Thalvari. The Vizari technology continues to outpace our own. Their shield harmonics adapt to our weapons, and their energy beams cut through our most advanced barriers like they're nothing. The hologram shifted to show the Vizari warships, obsidian, angular vessels that seemed to absorb surrounding starlight. Their design defied conventional physics, with impossible angles and surfaces that appeared to blur when viewed directly. "We sent our best," growled Admiral Katarn of the Murdari Defense Force, his metallic exoskeleton clicking as he rose to speak. 500 battlecruisers from 7 different systems. The Vizari destroyed them in minutes. They didn't even slow down. In the rear of the hall, Commander Sarah Chen of Earth observed the proceedings quietly. Her standard-issue United Earth Navy uniform looked primitive compared to the advanced garments worn by other species. Earth had joined the Galactic Alliance only 14 months ago, humanity's first tentative step into the greater cosmic community. To most of the gathered species, humans were still considered primitive newcomers, barely worth acknowledging. "The Vizari refuse all communication attempts," Zirfel continued. "We've tried every frequency, language, and communication method known. They respond only with destruction. Our scientists believe they feed on fear itself, or perhaps the energy released during mass extinction events." The council erupted into chaos. Some representatives called for a full retreat to the outer rim. Others suggested surrendering more territory in hopes of appeasing the Vizari. A few simply wept, their various biological processes manifesting grief in startling ways. Commander Chen checked her neural interface, confirming the transmission to Earth Command had gone through. What she was witnessing here matched their intelligence exactly. The Alliance was technologically advanced but had grown complacent. They had forgotten how to fight an enemy that couldn't be reasoned with. She stood and walked calmly to the central floor. Her movement, so deliberate and controlled, gradually silenced the room. "Earth will respond to the Vizari threat," she announced simply. The silence that followed lasted 3 heartbeats before dissolving into a mixture of laughter and dismissive scoffs. "With what?" sneered the Trill ambassador, his spiral appendages swirling in derision. "Your vessels are practically manufactured from scrap metal. Your weapon systems are rudimentary at best. Your species has barely mastered faster-than-light travel," added another representative. "What could you possibly offer against an enemy that has broken the most powerful forces in the galaxy?" Commander Chen's expression remained impassive. "We will deploy a single vessel." The laughter grew louder, more dismissive. Admiral Katarn's metallic voice cut through the noise. "I lost 200 ships in our last engagement." 200. "And you speak of sending one." Chen nodded once. "One will be sufficient. We require only the coordinates of the next predicted Vizari attack point." "This is absurd," Zirfel said, though her tone held more curiosity than dismissal. "What possible advantage could humans have against such a force?" "Perspective," Chen replied. "Throughout our history, humans have often faced overwhelming odds. We've developed a capacity for strategic thinking that comes only from being the underdog, and we understand something fundamental about bullies." "And what is that?" asked the Trill ambassador. that they continue until someone makes them stop. Chen's eyes surveyed the room. Your civilizations have known peace for too long. You've forgotten that some threats cannot be negotiated with or avoided. They must be confronted. She turned to leave, the conversation clearly over from her perspective. Your one ship will be destroyed, called out Admiral Katarn. Commander Chen paused at the threshold but didn't turn around. Perhaps, she acknowledged. But the Vizari will learn that humans don't go quietly. The EMCON drones created a bubble of electromagnetic distortion around the Vizari fleet, temporarily disrupting their sensor systems and communications. Technology developed during Earth's last war, refined for space combat. Phase 1 complete, reported Zhang. We have approximately 3 minutes before they adapt. Hayes nodded. Begin Phase 2. Deploy the quantum mines. Outside, the Defiance released dozens of small, innocuous-looking devices that drifted toward the Vizari ships. Unlike conventional mines, these didn't explode. Instead, they attached to the Vizari hulls and activated, their effect invisible but profound. Quantum phase discrepancy detected across the Vizari fleet, Atlas reported. Their shields are experiencing a 27% efficiency reduction. Hayes allowed herself a small smile. The trick isn't to break through their shields. It's to make their shields break themselves. The quantum mines exploited a principle discovered in the Martian ruins, the ability to create localized areas where physical constants fluctuated slightly. The Vizari shields, dependent on precise quantum harmonics, began to destabilize under these fluctuations. They've detected us, warned Takashi. Vizari vessels altering course to intercept. Hold position, Hayes ordered, her voice steady. Let them come to us. As the massive Vizari ships turned toward the comparatively tiny human vessel, Alliance observers watching from a safe distance prepared to witness the quick destruction of humanity's foolish last stand. Instead, they were about to witness the beginning of humanity's legend. Part 2. The Defiance Answer. The 7 Vizari warships bore down on the Defiance like predators closing in on wounded prey. Their obsidian hulls absorbed the starlight, making them appear as moving voids against the backdrop of space. The Alliance observation vessels, monitoring from a safe distance, transmitted the scene to the Grand Hall where representatives watched in somber silence. Most had already begun composing condolences to be sent to Earth. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Hayes remained standing, hands clasped behind her back. Status of the Vizari shields. Quantum disruption at 32% and holding, reported Atlas. They're attempting to compensate. They've never encountered this type of attack before, Zhang observed. Their automated defense systems don't know how to prioritize the threat. Hayes nodded. Now for Phase 3. Deploy the neutrino field. From the underside of the Defiance, 4 specialized emitters activated, generating a field invisible to conventional sensors. The equipment, massive and power-hungry, was the reason for the ship's unusual design. Over 40% of its internal volume was dedicated to this single weapon system. Neutrino field established, confirmed Dr. Mai Chen over the comm from engineering. Subatomic disruption in progress. The lead Vizari vessel fired. A beam of energy so concentrated it could slice through an Alliance capital ship. It struck the space where the Defiance appeared to be and passed through harmlessly. Holographic displacement holding, Takashi announced. They're firing at our projected image. Hayes allowed herself a small, grim smile. Return fire. All conventional weapons. The Defiance unleashed a barrage of relatively primitive missiles and energy weapons, technology that would have been considered outdated by Alliance standards. Yet the timing was precise, coordinated with the effects of the quantum mines and neutrino field. The missiles struck the Lid Vizari ship, and where once such attacks would have been harmlessly absorbed by their shields, now they penetrated, detonating against the hull. Fragments of the black material scattered into space. In the Grand Hall, the observers gasped collectively. No one had managed to damage a Vizari vessel in over a year of conflict. How? Whispered Admiral Katarn, his metallic exoskeleton clicking rapidly in agitation. Their weapons are rudimentary. Commander Sarah Chen, watching beside him, replied quietly, "It's not about the weapons. It's about how you use them." Back on the Defiance, the battle intensified. The Viserys ships abandoned their formation, attempting to surround the human vessel. They fired continuously now, their energy beams slicing through empty space as the Defiance's holographic displacement system kept them firing at ghosts. "They're adapting," warned Zhang, as one of the Viserys beams grazed the actual hull, sending vibrations through the ship. Displacement effectiveness dropping to 68%. "Activate the gravitational lensing," ordered Hayes, "and prepare the main cannon." The most power-intensive system aboard the Defiance came online, a technology that manipulated gravity itself, bending not just light, but the very fabric of space-time around the ship. It was crude compared to the theoretical capabilities described in the Martian ruins, but sufficient for their needs. As the council chamber returned to its chaotic debate, Chen's neural interface pulsed with an incoming transmission. "Operation Ni Emisius authorized. DINC prepared. Hor ilaunc." The UEA's Defiance hung in Earth orbit, a stark contrast to the elegant vessels of the Alliance. Where their ships were smooth and aesthetically pleasing, this human vessel was all hard angles and functional design. Its hull was unusually thick, dotted with what appeared to be primitive weapon systems and communications arrays. Inside the bridge, Captain Eleanor Hayes studied the tactical display. At 47, she had the weathered look of someone who had seen combat up close. A thin scar ran from her left temple to her jaw, a reminder from Earth's last war that some injuries were worth keeping as memories. "Final systems check complete, Captain," reported Commander David Zhang, her first officer. "All stations report ready." Hayes nodded. "The Alliance believes we're on a suicide mission." "Let them think that," John replied with a slight smile. "They don't know human history." The ship's AI, Atlas, materialized as a holographic interface beside them. "Based on the data provided by the Alliance and our own calculations, the Viserys fleet will most likely target the Lyrican colony in the Eridani system next. Then that's where we'll intercept them," Hayes confirmed. She turned to address her bridge crew, 15 men and women, all veterans, all volunteers. The Alliance has forgotten what it means to fight for survival. Their technology advanced too quickly, and they never had to develop the mindset we've honed through millennia of conflict. Today, we remind the galaxy of an old human truth. The most dangerous enemy is not the strongest one, but the one with nothing left to lose. Deep in engineering, Dr. Mai Chen, sister to Commander Sarah Chen, made final adjustments to the ship's unique drive system. Unlike the standard propulsion methods used by Alliance vessels, the Defiance carried something revolutionary: the quantum displacement engine. Developed in secret after the discovery of ancient mathematical equations in the Martian ruins, it wasn't faster or more powerful than Alliance technology. It was different. "It'll hold," Mai whispered to the humming machinery. "Just long enough." Hayes's voice came through the shipwide comm. "All hands, prepare for departure. We are the line in the sand. We are humanity's answer to those who think terror is the ultimate weapon." She paused, then added more softly, "We may not come back from this, but our message will." The Defiance broke orbit, accelerating away from Earth. Unlike the graceful departure of Alliance vessels, the human ship surged forward with raw, barely contained power. Inside, its crew made final preparations for a battle that would change the course of galactic history. As they approached the jump point, Hayes gave one final order: activate the quantum displacement engine. The space around the Defiance rippled, twisted, and then the ship was gone, leaving behind only a brief flash of light and the hopes of humanity. When the Alliance representatives received word that the human vessel had departed, most dismissed it as a futile gesture. Some even expressed pity for the primitive species that didn't know better than to sacrifice themselves. Only High Chancellor Zerethal remained thoughtful, her translucent skin pulsing with an emotion her species rarely experienced. Hope. Perhaps, she whispered to herself, we have forgotten something important about survival that these humans still remember. The Lyrican colony on Eridani VI was evacuating when the Defiance arrived. Massive transport ships filled with refugees were struggling to escape the gravity, well as the colony's defensive platforms fired desperately at the approaching Vezari fleet. From the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Hayes watched the scene unfold with cold calculation. 7 Vezari warships, each one capable of destroying dozens of Alliance vessels, moved in perfect formation toward the colony. They haven't detected us yet, reported Lieutenant Takashi at Tactical. Our signature is too different from what they're programmed to recognize as a threat. Good, Hayes nodded. Deploy the EMCON drones. From the Defiance's launch base, 12 small objects accelerated away from the ship, their miniature engines pushing them toward the Vezari formation. EMCON drones deployed. Captain, confirmed Zhang. Electromagnetic concealment field active. On the main view screen, the image of the Vezari vessels flickered and distorted as the drone's effect took hold. The Alliance builds bigger ships with bigger shields, Hayes observed. They try to overpower the Vezari through brute force, but humanity learned long ago that sometimes the smallest weapon, applied precisely, can overcome any advantage. Gravitational lens active, confirmed Dr. Chen. Main cannon charged to 87% capacity. The space around the Defiance visibly distorted, the stars seeming to shift position as light curved around the ship. The Vezari weapons, guided by targeting systems that relied on conventional physics, found their shots bent away from their intended target. Target the lead vessel, Hayes commanded. Fire when ready. The front section of the Defiance split open, revealing what appeared to be an oversized railgun, a weapon so primitive that the Alliance had abandoned similar technology centuries ago. But this wasn't just any kinetic weapon. Main cannon firing, announced Takashi. A single projectile, accelerated from the Defiance, pushed to near relativistic speeds by a combination of electromagnetic force and a momentary gravitational manipulation that created a downhill path through spacetime. The projectile, a specially designed penetrator containing a compressed quantum singularity, struck the lead Vezari vessel precisely where the quantum mines had weakened its shields. The result was spectacular. The penetrator tunneled through the Vezari hull before detonating, releasing its microscopic black hole. For a brief moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Vezari ship imploded, collapsing inward as the artificial gravity well consumed it from within. Within seconds, all that remained was a dissipating cloud of debris and a fading gravitational distortion. In the Grand Hall, the silence was absolute. That's impossible, the Trill ambassador finally whispered. Commander Chen's reply was matter-of-fact. That's human ingenuity. The remaining 6 Vezari vessels reacted instantly, changing tactics. They began targeting the EMCON drones, apparently recognizing the threat they posed to their sensor systems. 2 of the drones were destroyed before Hayes gave her next order. Initiate the swarming protocol. From the Defiance's launch bays, hundreds of tiny drones emerged, each no larger than a human hand. Unlike the advanced combat drones used by the Alliance, these were remarkably simple devices, carrying minimal payloads and basic targeting systems. But they moved with coordinated intelligence, forming complex patterns as they approached the Vezari vessels. First wave engaging, reported Zhang. The swarm split into 6 groups, each targeting a different Vezari ship. Rather than attacking directly, they positioned themselves at specific points around each vessel, then detonated simultaneously. The explosions were trivial against the mighty Vezari shields, but that wasn't their purpose. Resonance pattern established. Atlas confirmed. Shield harmonics mapped. The Vezari shields operated on complex frequency patterns that adapted to attacks. The first wave of drones had sacrificed themselves to gather data on these patterns, transmitting back to the Defiance before their destruction. Second wave launching, announced Zhang. Another swarm deployed, but this time their explosions were synchronized precisely to the mapped frequencies of the Vizari shields. Like perfectly timed musical notes that can shatter a crystal glass, the detonations created resonance cascades within the shield matrices. Two more Vizari ships suddenly found their shields collapsing, sections of their hulls exposed to space. The Defiance's conventional weapons lashed out again, this time with devastating effect. One Vizari vessel erupted in a series of explosions, while another lost propulsion and began to drift. We've analyzed their communication patterns, Atlas reported. They're signaling distress. Hayes leaned forward. The Vizari have never retreated before. They've never needed to, John replied. In the Grand Hall, the representatives watched in astonishment as the remaining Vizari ships began to withdraw, abandoning their attack on the colony. Their perfect formation was broken, their coordinated movements now seeming hesitant. They're afraid, realized High Chancellor Zyrifal, her translucent skin pulsing with amazement. They don't understand what's happening. On the Defiance, warning alerts blared across multiple stations. Captain, our systems are failing, reported Dr. Chen from engineering. The gravitational manipulators have burned out. Main cannon offline. Neutrino field collapsing. Hayes nodded calmly. They were only designed for one battle. Did we get the data we needed? Complete analysis of Vizari technology and tactics, confirmed Atlas, transmitting to Earth and the Alliance now. The Defiance hung in space, much of its specialized equipment now inoperative. They had thrown everything into this single engagement, knowing there wouldn't be a second chance. The remaining Vizari ships, still formidable despite their losses, could have turned and destroyed the now vulnerable human vessel. Instead, they continued their retreat, accelerating away from the system. Why aren't they finishing us off? Wondered Takashi. Hayes watched the departing ships on the view screen. Because we've done something far worse than damaging their vessels. We've introduced uncertainty into a species that has only known absolute dominance. They need to reassess. The bridge crew allowed themselves to breathe once the Vizari ships disappeared from sensor range. Damage report, Hayes requested. Specialized systems are offline, but basic ship functions remain operational, Jean reported. We can make it home. Hayes nodded, finally allowing herself to sit down. Send a message to Earth Command and the Alliance. Tell them, the Vizari can be defeated, and we know how. 3 weeks later, the Grand Hall of the Galactic Alliance was transformed. Where once fear had dominated, now there was cautious optimism. Engineers and scientists from dozens of species crowded around workstations, examining the data transmitted by the Defiance. High Chancellor Zyrifel approached Commander Chen, who stood observing the activity. Your vessel damaged 3 Vizari ships and destroyed a 4th, Zyrifel stated. No one else has achieved even a fraction of that success. Chen nodded. The Defiance wasn't designed to win the war. It was designed to prove it could be won. Your technology seems primitive compared to ours. It's not about the technology, Chen explained. It's about the approach. The Vizari expected direct confrontation. Bigger ships, stronger shields, more powerful weapons. That's how the Alliance has fought for centuries. But humans have a long history of asymmetric warfare, of finding unexpected solutions when conventional strength isn't enough. Zirithel's skin rippled with understanding. Your scientists are now working with ours to implement these strategies across our fleet. Yes. And the next time the Vizari attack, they won't face one human ship. They'll face an alliance that has remembered how to fight. On the main display, the image of the Defiance returning to Earth played alongside schematics of new weapon systems being developed jointly by human and Alliance engineers. Captain Hayes' face appeared briefly as she delivered her report to the Combined Council. The Vizari believed they understood warfare, Hayes' recorded voice stated. They didn't. They understood domination against enemies who played by their rules. Humanity has never been good at following rules we didn't write. Commander Chen watched as representatives who had laughed at humanity's offer now listened intently to every word from Earth. "Will they return?" asked Zirathal. "The Vizari?" "Certainly," Chen replied, "but not as conquerors confident in their invincibility. They'll return cautiously, uncertain of what new tricks we might have developed. And that hesitation, that fear, gives us the advantage." Across the galaxy, Alliance worlds began implementing the lessons learned from the Defiance. Quantum disruption technology, gravitational lensing, coordinated drone swarms, all adapted and improved upon by combining human strategic thinking with Alliance technical capabilities. When the Vizari fleet returned 3 months later, they didn't find helpless planets awaiting destruction. They found a prepared alliance that fought with renewed determination and unexpected tactics. The terror that had gripped the galaxy began to recede, replaced by something the Vizari had never encountered before: resistance that worked. And at the forefront of this new unified defense stood the humans, newcomers who had taught the stars an ancient lesson from Earth. Sometimes the most dangerous species isn't the strongest, but the one most determined to survive. In the years that followed, the story of the Defiance became legend. The ship itself was preserved as a monument to the day when humanity answered the call that no one else could. And throughout the Alliance, a new saying emerged among military commanders facing difficult odds: "When conventional wisdom fails, think like a human."